First of all, if you hear pattering at my window, it is raining right now, yay! And secondly, if you hear my kids upstairs, you know it is what it is, okay? It gets a little crazy around here. What's up, best friend? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another story time. Today is going to be a life lesson that I would like to pass on to you guys, for those of you guys that are driving for the first time or a car owner for the first time. Whatever the case may be, I want to touch on one of the ways that it sucks ass to be a girl, man. You know, we get a lot of flack from dudes like, oh my god,
Like, you guys don't even have to pay for your own drinks. You guys could go broke to the club and come out with money.
and it's just like, okay, yes. But on the flip side, men be treating us like we're stupid and be really trying to take advantage of us. If the opportunity should ever arise, trust, they take it. And this is the perfect example. Grab your wine, grab your snacks, my glamazons, my manazons, and sit down, get comfy, and let me tell you how somebody seriously ripped my ass off and caused me to go without a car for over 2 years. Let's get into it. So once upon a time, not long ago, right? I was 19 years old when I got my first car. Up until that point, y'all know, I was all about that bus life, y'all. I rode the bus every day to and from work, to and from anywhere that I wanted to go. And then I would just get rides from my friends to go to the club and do whatever I wanted to do. Of course, you know, that gets tiring after a while. So when I was 19, I got my first big girl job where I was making some pretty decent money to afford a loan. Do your research on loans. Ask your parents for advice before you get yourself into a loan, because they really did me dirty. I had to pay so much in interest for my 2007 Scion TC. Keep in mind, this took place in 2011. So this car was already 4 years old at this time, okay? And I forgot how much mileage it had on it, but I was so desperate to get a car and I didn't have enough in cash for, like, you know, a cash car. So I had no choice to try to get a loan for the first time for a car. I loved it. It was my baby. It was literally my pride and joy, my first huge possession that I was going to be paying monthly payments up the ass for, might I add. But I was really proud of myself. And finally, your girl was driving, okay? From going from the city buses to your own actual car, girl, it's bliss. There is nothing like that transition, because you already know what's up. And like, I really did not take my car for granted. I love my car. God, you guys, I was that person that, like, literally every person that drove beside me, I was like, bitch, you trying to race? And I would be like racing people without them even knowing. And then like, I full on got into a race with this one dude on the highway. It was so dangerous. And like, he was getting so pissed because I actually was like, bitch, I'll race you. And he was like, oh, for real? So I was constantly putting myself into terrible positions with this car. So I feel like all of the bad things that were happening to this car was really to keep my ass safe, because I was crazy in this Scion. Anyways, girl, I'm living my life. I'm living good. I got my Scion. I'm grown. Fast forward a few years. By this point, I had met David. We had already been dating. We went from living downtown to moving into our own apartment. Okay, so by this time, we had been together for probably almost a year by the time we got into our apartment together. David and I were constantly going to his family's cabin up in Wyoming. They have a cabin over there that they spend pretty much all summer at, right? And it's only a 3-hour drive. It's not too bad. So, you know, of course, we had our normal 8 to 5 jobs, but like every Friday we would like try our best to get off of work early and then like either pack our things or have our things already packed, and then we would take off so that we could make it to Wyoming, to the cabin, before nightfall. Because girl, I don't know if you've ever driven through Wyoming at night. Creepiest shit you'll ever see in your life. I'm not even kidding. Especially where their lake is, bitch. It's nothing but like, there are no lights on the street. None whatsoever, right? Well, David has a rear wheel drive. Rear wheel drive. It was a huge truck, but the gas, girl, the gas. Now keep in mind, this was during our struggle period, okay? We did not have the money. So of course, every time we made these trips, we were going to my little Scion. It was fast, it was easy on gas, and it was newer than his truck. And then we went back into the city to like work, and we knew that we were going to be going back the very next weekend. It's a 6-hour commute altogether, maybe even 7 if you're, you know, following the speed limits the whole time. So I wanted to make sure that my car was going to be in good shape for us to go to Wyoming again the very next weekend. So I decided that it was time for an oil change. So I had already gotten my oil changed, obviously, you know, when I had my Scion, but I was taking it pretty much anywhere. Like, it was usually like Grease Monkey. Grease Monkey always did me good. But you know, them little oil change, tire rotation spots, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought about where I was taking my car. I remember like calling around, and I was trying to get an appointment to get an oil change before that weekend. And, you know, a lot of places were tight. So I ended up trying a spot that I had never tried before, but it was right near my apartments, called Meineke. Yes, we are going to be calling them out because this shit actually fucking happened, okay? And it was because I was so young and I had no money to actually make them right their wrongs that they got away with this shit. So I am speaking now. I find this place, Meineke. I make an appointment. The dude is so short with me on the phone. You can expect to pay anywhere from $70 to $130 for an oil change, depending on your car, how old it is, the type of oil it uses, all of that shit. So I knew that I was going to be paying around there. But typically speaking, I would pay at most $90, $95. Not a problem. I knew that I had that money saved. And like I said, every fucking penny counted at this time. Almost $100 is a lot of money, girl. It's a lot of money. That's a light bill, bitch. This is something that you start learning where you really want to go out with your friends. You really want to go have that nice dinner, but you have your responsibilities and your fucking bills. So I was like, I gotta go get an oil change. So David followed me. We dropped off my car. We went right back home because like I said, it was literally right around the corner from where we lived. We go home. We chill for a few hours. I get a call. Hey, your car is done. You can come pick it up. I was like, okay, great. Now keep in mind, very dull, very monotone, the whole process, right? So David takes me back over to Meineke, drops me off. I go inside to handle my business by myself. David was like, I'll wait out here for you, babe. He didn't leave me there, but he definitely stayed in the truck because all I had to do was pay. Before I even get into this part of the story, a lot of my ladies that have been driving for quite a few years now, I can guarantee you have all had the same fucking experience. Tell me not. Walk into the little bitty ass, funky ass, booty smelling ass office. Everything is all dingy. Everything smells like gas. And I went up to the counter and, I tell them who I am, my name, and what car I'm here to pick up. Every time I go into one of these places, there's nobody ever at the fucking desk. They have that huge garage, and on the side of the garage, they had a bunch of windows. They basically keep their eye on the windows, and whenever they see you is whenever they help you. If they don't see you for a good 15 minutes, bitch, you just fucking wait in there because they're working and they don't have anybody that's meant for the desk. I end up waiting around. I'm texting David, sorry, they're busy. They're going to come help me in a few minutes. Okay, great. So he's waiting out there. Finally, the same dude that I had dropped my keys off to earlier that day was the same one who saw me through the window. And you could tell the minute that he looked at me, that I was a nuisance. He was like, and he threw his rag down and was like, all right. So he comes inside. He comes behind the desk. He was like, Nikki? I was like, yeah. And he was like, all right, you got the Scion, right? And I was like, yeah. There was quite a few other things wrong that you might want to consider getting done. Well, I do regular maintenance on my car. I was like, what's the matter? And he was like, for starters, you need a new windshield wiper. We sell the different ones here. We got the silver package and the gold package. Now the gold package is gonna last you about a year and a half. Now the silver package is only gonna last you about a few months. So if it were me, I would suggest the gold package. Bitch. Straight up, okay? He talked like that and I was like, I knew it was a bunch of bullshit. My windshield wipers were fine. And you want to know how I knew that? Because my windshield wipers had gotten old and I had already gone to AutoZone where my friend worked and got me some free windshield wipers, bitch. So don't try me. So I was like, actually, I think I'll pass on that this time, but thanks for letting me know. He goes, well, and this is a really important one, your air filter. Your air filter is very dirty. So he literally has an air filter that's underneath his desk, okay, bitch? And he pulls it out, claims that it's mine from my car, and says, you see this? This is your air filter. This is how it's looking right now. This is a brand new air filter. This is what it looks like when it's brand new. You see the difference? Now, all of this in your air filter, that's all going straight directly into your lungs. Every time you use your AC, all of this skunk is going straight into your lungs. Now, we don't want that, so we should probably change the air filter. Okay, all right. Look, that does look nasty. If you show me something nasty and something clean, it's just in me, bitch. I was like, oh my God. Air filters have to be changed, but a lot of times they recommend it even when you don't really need it. I just took his word for it and I said, yeah, let's go ahead and change out the air filter. He goes, fantastic. And I forgot how much he added on. He was like, okay, that's going to be another, oh man, it was $40, $50, bitch. And I was like, ooh, shit. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want it to go directly into my lungs. So I'm gonna go ahead and get another air filter. It's going to be another few minutes while we put the air filter in. You can wait right here. And I said, okay. Bitch, I ended up waiting for another half hour for this man to change out my air filter in my car. Finally, he comes back in. We make the transaction. After that, the sullation of it all. He literally had nothing else to say. He was like, okay, card, here's your keys. Bye. And I was like, All right. It was nice meeting you too. Pleasure doing business. Peace out. All right. So I leave. Finally, David and I take off. We go home. Everything's normal. Fast forward, I'm driving my car every day for the rest of the week to work and back, right? So everything's fine, no big deal. Friday comes around, David and I are doing our usual and we're packing up our car to go to Wyoming. So, we would pack up. Now, before we would go, we would always like have a meal that we were in charge of. That way, everybody that went, we all had like our own meal. So everybody's kind of spending the same amount as far as food is concerned. So we would like go to King Soopers real fast before we headed out and get some chips, some hot dogs, burgers, the dealio, so that we were contributing as well. The car just kind of seemed like she didn't have like her get up and go, you know what I mean? And back then I was very gas heavy girl. So I just noticed that like she wasn't like getting up and going as she usually did. It almost seemed like she was skipping a gear, but then it would like correct itself. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm just like doing something wrong with the pedals or something. And, we go into King Soopers, we come out, I get in my car, we drive back over to our apartment to like pack up the rest of our things. And that drive completely normal. And we're making really good time. We're making time to where we would be in Wyoming by like no later than 7:30, which is perfect. The highway changes from like 60 to 65 to 75 as you start getting away from the city. Literally, my gas pedal felt like there was a brick underneath it. Like it was not moving. And I was having to go faster because it was making the switch between the 65 mile per hour area to the 75 mile per hour area. And you are driving with a bunch of RVs, 18-wheelers, huge monster trucks. Like you cannot be in their way. Like it's very fast paced, right? So I tried to like hit on my gas so that I could keep up with traffic. No, bitch. My gas pedal just like stopped working. Like where it was as far as like how fast I was going, that's as fast as it was going. Like the pedal would not go down. It was the scariest shit. So I start hitting on my brake because I was like, something is wrong. Like this is ridiculous. This is wrong. So I was like, okay, we need to stop. And so I start hitting on my brake, and instead of like a smooth stop, my whole car starts like literally jumping. And like the more I hit on my brakes, the more that it's jumping. And like me and David are like going like this, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I thank God, y'all, that I was on the far right lane. So I was right next to the emergency lane. So I pull over, right? I pull over and it was like some shit out of a movie, okay? We popped my hood and it was just nothing but smoke. Nothing but smoke. And then after that, like my car didn't want to drive. Every time we turned it on, like it would turn on. But if I tried to hit the gas, it just started doing that jumping thing. And David was like, no, don't do that anymore. So we literally did not know what was going on. And I was like, what the fuck? So I start thinking... And David was like, you got your oil changed? And he was like, I don't understand. And I was like, oh, and y'all, I was sitting there freaking out because I was like, I can't afford for my car to be out. I can't afford another like maintenance expense, if I'm being honest. So like I just sat there and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? This is a car that I am paying on, that I have a loan on, and I don't have like the extra income to expense any maintenance fees or any maintenance costs that this is going to cost me. Like, what the fuck is going on? So we end up calling David's dad because he was expecting us to be in Wyoming. And whenever he knows that one of us is coming, he'll stay up until we get there because he understands how dark it gets out there, and it gets harder and harder to drive and see as it gets darker. We didn't want him to be waiting up for us. So David called him and was like, Dad, we're on the side of I-25. Nikki's car just broke down. We don't know what's going on. We may not be able to make it. Well, David's dad was like not trying to hear it. He was like, look, it is the weekend. I don't remember if it was like 4th of July weekend, but it was like an extended weekend or Labor Day, something. And he was like, just why don't you just have it towed back to your place? He goes, and David, he was like, go to our house. Use the garage keypad code. He was like, I have an extra set of keys to one of my trucks, and you guys take it and come to the cabin anyways. Like, come. And we were like, what? And he was like, yeah, I don't want y'all to miss it. He just really wanted us to be out there. He was like, don't worry about it. We'll figure all that out come Monday or come Tuesday or whatever. And so, of course, I didn't really feel like dealing with this right now. I was so stressed out about it. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to find the money. And so David was like, baby, we should listen to my dad. Let's just have the car towed to our apartments, you know, and then we go get my dad's truck and we go to Wyoming and we'll figure it out on the lake, and you know, everything's going to be fine. And I was like, okay. At this point, we were about an hour and a half or 2 hours late on our path, which was going to put us at around 8:30 arrival time, which is like completely dark. So I was like, shit. Not only did we have to do that, we had to go back to the apartment to where my car was to unpack all of our things from the Scion and put it into David's dad's truck. Finally, we get there. It was dark as fuck. It was scary as fuck. I hated it. Like, because you have to use your high beams, then all of these bugs are flying at your car, and it's just so, it is so fucking scary. And then there's hills, and like you can't see when a big 18-wheeler is coming up on like one-way lanes, and it's just like, I hate driving over there at night. So I was like anxious the whole fucking time. It turns out that my fear was correct, because we had like a moment where we're like on this main road, and where you have to turn in to enter into the lake, it is very inconspicuous, okay, especially at night. There's no huge signs like lake this way, like none of that. It's just like, it looks like a side of a mountain, like a little trail. That's what it's literally dirt. There's no cement where their cabin is. So like you just have to kind of see it in the dark. So we end up, we take a turn and we think that it's the entrance to the fucking lake, and it's not. It's like just a random cove. So we end up trying to like back out of it, and there was like this dry ass bush right there, and it scraped up against the side of David's dad's truck, and we couldn't see any damage. Like David got out of the car, he was freaking out, and he was like, "This is my dad's truck, like what the fuck?" And we were like using our flashlights trying to see like how much damage. We didn't really see any, so we were like, it's fine, it's like a lot minor mishap. We backed out of it. Turns out it was the next little entryway. But then the next morning, his dad did, and his dad and his mom talked to us, and I was like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad. When we finally get back in town, we have to figure out a time to get my car towed to another maintenance place in order to give it a diagnostic and figure out what the hell is going on with it. So the problem with that is that costs extra money that I did not have. And it was at this time that I decided that I needed to work at the strip club as a cocktail waitress to start making more money. So my car actually sat there without a engine in the parking lot of my apartments for a good, I would say like 3 or 4 months. And then I got a notice from our apartment saying, hey, we've noticed that this car hasn't moved. If it's in an active vehicle, it's not allowed on the premises. You'll have to like tow it somewhere else. And I was like, could this get any worse? Like I did what I was supposed to do, and I was, you know, trying to be as responsible with my car as possible. How could this fucking happen? At this time, my brother did not live in the States. Y'all, I didn't have anybody to fucking ask. I was like, I don't know, like I don't have any friends that are like, you know, work on cars. I don't have anybody like that. So what the fuck am I supposed to do? So David tried to get some of his friends involved, and, you know, we started like trying to call around. Who can we figure out to help us like figure out what could be wrong with this car without having to tow it somewhere, because I just don't have the money for that. So fast forward the months, and then finally we got a hold of one of David's dad's friends who actually worked on cars on the side, and he was really good at it. So he was like, tell you what, I'm going to send him over to your apartment, take a look at what could be wrong with your car, and then we can get a good idea from there. And I was like, okay, cool, thank you so much. So he sends out his friend. David also knew him as well, and he came by our apartments and took a look at my car. He like went all around the car, went all underneath it, looked under the hood, and then finally he came back inside our apartment. He goes, I think I know what's wrong with it. And I was like, okay. And, you know, my heart starts beating fast, and I'm like, what? You know, please tell me it's not going to be expensive. He was like, actually, he goes, when's the last time you got your oil changed? And I was like, and by this point, it had been a few months, because I didn't have anybody to look at my car. I didn't have the money to take my car anywhere, get it towed anywhere. So it took me this long to have somebody take a look at it, you know? So I was like, like 3 months ago. So I got him the receipt of when I went to Meineke before I had gone to Wyoming a few days after I had gotten my oil changed. And he was like, okay. So he goes, all right, so just a few months ago, fine. He goes, that's really odd. And I said, why? And he goes, because this is what I pulled out of your car. And he had this small cup in his hand, and it was full of just pitch black oil. And I was like, what? And he goes, I drained this out of your car just a little bit just to see what the oil was looking like. He was like, and it's not like you're out of oil. He was like, this is old oil. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, when it's new oil, it's like a golden color. And again, like I didn't fucking know this. So I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. He was like, so this is like old oil that somebody like reused. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And he goes, yeah. Your oil should not look like this. If you just got it changed and you haven't driven the car anywhere because it's been undrivable all this time. So he was like, it stands to reason that wherever you took it, they put old oil in your car. Definitely fuck up your engine and you need a whole other one. And I was like, he was like, now, because you went and you got your oil change, he was like, you need to go back to Meineke and have them look at this car and explain to you what happened. Because whatever they did to your car, they should fix what they did, because this old oil caused your engine to seize up, and whatever maintenance fees and whatever maintenance costs that you have to accrue because of their negligence, they should be responsible for, right? So he starts going off. He ends up calling my father-in-law, and he was like, this is what I found. You know, like they definitely played her and they put old oil in her car. So David's dad was like, you know what? He was like, that's so fucked up. So he ended up calling the Meineke. David's dad did, on my behalf. And he was like, my daughter brought in her car just a few months ago. And 3 days later, her car seized up on the highway. And now we just got a sample of the oil. And it's completely black. You guys have some explaining to do, right? So he's like roughing them up. Well, they're like so nice, and they're like, sir, we are here to fix any wrongs, but that is not, you know, what we do here. You know, that is not our method of oil changes. We would never put old oil in somebody else's vehicle. What, you know, tell you what, why don't you bring the vehicle to the same Meineke that you brought it to get the oil change initially done? He was like, I will have my top best mechanics look at that oil. He said, and if we are in fact the reason behind this, we will do everything we can to correct it. And I was like, wow, that's a completely different tone than y'all would have given me. I know that for fucking certain. Now, my father-in-law, he's busy as fuck. So he was like, you know what? He was like, I'm not going to be able to go with you, but I'll have my friend go with you. The very same one that pulled the oil out of the car. He was like, I will have him go with you. You guys have the car towed to that Meineke. They need to answer for what they did. And I was like, okay. And me and oh boy, we'll call him Carlos. We go in there, and that's my father-in-law's friend. We go in there together, and he has the oil with him that he pulled out of my car. And we drop off the car in the parking lot, right? Now, we go inside, and we speak to this guy that I've never seen before. He wasn't the guy that helped me in the first place. Very tall, big old dude, right? He was the only one there. This was like nightfall. Like, it was starting to become a little late by the time this was happening. Carlos kind of takes over, and he was like, this is a situation. This young lady came here and got her oil changed on this date. 3 days later, her engine seized up, and I just pulled this out of her car. He was like, now, as you can see from the receipt here, she came here on this date, and this is the oil that I pulled out of her car today. He was like, now, can you see why we need some answers here? He for real looked at him and was like, well, how do I know that you haven't been driving it all this time? You're more than welcome to look at the mileage on the car, because she only got so far before it broke down, and ever since it's been sitting in her apartment parking lot until she could afford to get it towed here, man. Her oil would not look like that, and you and I both know that. So like, they're fucking standing off, and I'm like, oh shit. That man just like looked at like my receipts and like the oil and stuff. He just sat there and he looked up at Carlos, and he was like, all right, man. He was like, you know what? Even if we tried to figure this out today, nothing would be able to be done. I need to wait until my manager's here, all right? And so Carlos was like, well, we just got the car towed. And he was like, yeah, you know, you could keep the car here. And Carlos was like, I'm not keeping it here. He was like, it's just parked out in your parking lot. He was like, how do I know nobody's gonna come and like break into her car while we're gone? He was like, I'm not leaving it out there. He was like, so what, you gonna pay for it to be towed there and back again? He was like, because we're here and we already talked to your manager. He told us to bring the car here, man. So Carlos is getting like fucking feisty. And I was like, yeah, what he said. Cause like we're getting so much further with this place now that Carlos is here than we ever would have had it just been me, and we all fucking know it. So tired of riding on the bus, and I'm still paying on this loan, and I can't even drive my car, you know? So like we're both going off, and he was like, all right. He was like, the best I can do for you is to have it pulled into the garage. He was like, you know, we just have to push it into the garage. I'll lock it up. Then you guys come back first thing in the morning. He was like, I think we're fine with that. He was like looking at me. He was like, you good with that? And I was like, yeah. So we end up going outside. I put the car in neutral. They push it into the garage of the Meineke, right? This guy said, okay, we're going to go ahead and keep the keys just in case anything happens. If we have to move it, especially with our appointments in the morning, I might have to move it back into the parking lot as soon as we open up. So would you mind leaving the keys? Now, logically, that all made sense, right? So anytime they have a car on their property, they typically take the keys. I went ahead and handed over my keys, and I'm like, I'm just so worried, and I don't know how this is going to turn out. This is my only means of transportation. I don't want to be back on public transportation. I don't want to have to pay out the ass for something that I didn't do. Real worried. So I just hand over my keys and I'm like, okay, like hopefully we can just come up with a solution tomorrow. I don't know what it was, if Carlos just had a feeling. But Carlos said, you are not to touch this car until we get back in the morning. Do you understand? I don't want you to touch it. He was like, because we need to figure out what happened to it. You understand? And that guy was like, hey man, I'm about to leave for the night. Like I'm about to close up shop. I don't have any reason to be touching this car. I'm just keeping it safe for you. And Carlos was like, all right then. Like as long as, he kept saying that, as long as you and I have an understanding, do not touch that car. And me and Carlos hop in his truck and we leave. Bitch, I accidentally left my home key on the key ring with my key that I gave the guy at Meineke, my car key. Y'all, in the midst of everything that was going on, I forgot to take my home key off of my car key when I handed over my keys. I literally just like handed over my fucking keys. And I didn't even think to undo the car key. I don't know why. I just had like a fucking brain fart. So much was happening. And I didn't realize it until we were halfway to my house, which wasn't far, by the way. So I was like, oh my God, can we turn around? Let's turn around. So sorry. I was like, with everything happening, I'm so sorry. He was like, no, it's all good. So we flip a bitch. We flip around. We head straight back to Meineke. We park in the parking lot. And this time, the lights inside of the office are off. But the lights inside one of the garages is on, okay? So we park the car and I'm like, oh shit, they're closed. And he was like, obviously they're not, like his car is still here. There was only one car in the parking lot, which must have belonged to him. And he was like, nah, he's still here, but you need your house key. So we walked straight directly up to the garage from the outside, and there's some windows like at the very top of the garage. I could barely see over the windows, but Carlos could see. Tell me why. We walked up to that garage. We looked through those windows, and that literally under my fucking hood. He was literally like, he was all up under the hood of my car. We don't know what he was doing, what he was looking at. And all of a sudden, Carlos, hey, what the fuck are you doing? So like that dude, he like gets all startled. He looks at us through the window. He's like, fuck. And so, he comes through the office and he like points this way, like meet me in the office. And Carlos was like, oh my God, like what the fuck, man. And while we're walking to the office, he was like, something fucking weird is going on. And I was like, I'm telling you, they're trying to take me for a ride, man. So he unlocks that office door. Carlos was fucking pissed. And he was like, what the fuck, man? He was like, I specifically fucking told you not to touch that car. What the fuck are you doing under the hood? And that dude was like, hey, look, this is our property. He was like, I was just checking things out, making sure everything was good. And he was like, what you mean everything is good? He was like, of course everything's not good. He was like, how do I know that you weren't switching the oils out so by tomorrow it doesn't look like the black oil that I pulled out of her car today? How do I know you're not going to do that? And he was like, well, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, he literally backed down so fast because there was nothing he could say. We saw him. You just told us that you had to leave, that you were closing up shop, and there was nothing that you fucking dumbass, you could do until your supervisor, your manager, whatever the fuck, was there in the morning. So nobody would be touching my car. You just had it in this garage to keep it safe. And Carlos was like, give me those keys. He was like, give me the fucking keys. So he takes the keys, my car key included, and that guy was like, I can't have the car here without that key. And he was like, too fucking bad. He was like, I'll talk to your manager tomorrow and he can ask me any questions. He was like, because this is ridiculous. He was like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's not right. He was like, I'll see you in the morning. So we like storm out. Now we have my car keys and my apartment keys, and that dude just looks like he like went fucking pale. And I was like, ooh bitch, we gonna get you. Fast forward, next day comes around, okay, and I'm like, yes, you know, like there's no way they're gonna be able to say no to me. Like I know that they definitely did this, right? And Carlos was doing me a big favor, girl, because he had like a regular job, and you know, David's dad was doing him a favor to like be off of his job for a few hours to help me out with this. I meet him over there at Meineke. We go inside to talk to the supervisor. Y'all, they're singing a completely different tune. And they said, if you look at the fine print of the forms that we have you sign whenever you get any sort of maintenance done here, there's like, it's kind of like a statute of limitations, but it's basically like we're only responsible for this work for a certain amount of time. And I wish that I knew the actual verbiage and the actual, like, I wish that I still had the paperwork, but who keeps their fucking paperwork? This was so long ago. Even though Carlos was like, I pulled black oil out of her car. That dude was like, hey, you know, he was like, the oil could turn black just by sitting there. And Carlos was like, no, that's not the way it fucking works. And you and I both know that. Why are you playing me right now? So they start going back and forth. And the manager was like, at the end of the day, because it's been such a long period of time since we did this maintenance, how do we know that this car didn't go to another maintenance shop and get this oil done by somebody else? And, you know, they kept going back and forth. And I was like, I could show you my bank statements. I could show you this. I could show you that. Like, I did not go to anybody else. It was you. And he was like, well, you know, it's just, it's a long time for us to be responsible for this because, you know, it's been X amount of days and it goes beyond what we're responsible for at this point. So had you come in sooner, we would have been able to take a better look at it and know that this was for sure our work. And I was like, I could not afford to tow it here. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I didn't even know what I was looking at. Like, I couldn't even afford to get it to a regular maintenance guy. This guy had to come to me. And he was like, well, too bad. We're not responsible for it. And so, of course, then the conversation gets to the point where Carlos was like, y'all know that y'all did this. It's the manager and then the same guy that was there the night before going through my hood. And he was like, and also, your employee was underneath the hood of that car after I specifically told him not to touch it. So how do I know that he didn't tamper with it? He was like, if it's on our property and it's here for maintenance, we have every right to check the car and make sure that everything's fine. And he was like, there was no reason to check the car, man. Like Carlos was getting so mad. And I was like, dude, the anger that you're feeling after all of this was done, I told Carlos, I was like, that frustrating anger that you're feeling right now because they didn't listen to you and because they always had an answer and they just kind of kept shutting you down. That's what we go through all the fucking time just to get shit done to our car, just to get maintenance. They treat us like we're fucking stupid and you're just getting like a small taste. Like, look how mad you are, you know? My car was in need of a completely new engine and I had to go 2 years without a car at all. I had to figure out where to park it. My mom lived in a condo down the street, so I parked the Scion there because they didn't have a problem with it. And I kept it there because a new engine was going to cost me over $7,000. And I just did not have that money. I just didn't have it. So finally, 2 years went by. I was literally on the RTD bus on the way to work at like 7 a.m, literally crying to my loan officer with the bank that I had the loan for my Scion with. And I told him the whole thing, like, I need help because this car, I can't even drive it. And this is what happened. And the engine is just gone. So they ran my credit again and they extended an additional loan, bitch, with interest and everything. And they extended me the $7,400 and I was finally able to get a new engine in that car after 2 years of being without a car. Finally got a brand new engine in that car, and I was so happy. I was like crying. And by this point, my car was like freaking like 5-6 years old at this point. But I was just so happy to just have a running car, because I was struggling, bitch. So now I have my original loan amount for the car that I owe, plus this additional $7,000 loan that's gaining interest that I had to pay off too. But at least I had my car, something that I worked really hard for, and everything was all good. 6 to 9 months later, my mom had gotten sick with cancer by this point, and she had had surgery, and she waited the ample amount of time that her doctor told her to wait before she was able to drive. Well, it apparently wasn't long enough, because after church one day, my mom accidentally rear-ended me because she passed out behind the wheel because she was not fully recovered from her surgery, even though her doctor told her. She had literally gotten clearance, like an actual letter of clearance saying that she could now operate a vehicle. I was like in between another car and my mom, and the accident happened. At this point, my Scion was completely totaled. From the time that I waited 2 years and then got a new engine to the time that the car was totaled, not even a year. That's why I'm saying, like, it was like God himself was like, no, you're gonna unalive yourself in that car because of how you be acting and you be speeding. Girl, I was so crazy. Tired of riding the RTD, bitch. I was just tired of struggling. I was in such a bad headspace. I didn't understand why I was not meant to have this car. But now in hindsight, I feel like it makes sense. But yeah, so I had literally had an engine in my car basically blow up on itself. We're lucky that it wasn't worse, or like we didn't get hurt on the highway when it stopped working and started breaking down. It could have been a lot worse. I'm just thankful that David and I were okay. I'm thankful that my mom was okay in that car accident, that we were okay in that car accident. But that car, at that point, I was just like, fuck it to hell. Just take it. I had to save up even more cash, me and David, to buy a little cash car, which was my Hyundai Elantra. And while I was driving that car around fully paid off, I was still paying on this Scion plus the engine of a totaled car for another 5 years. So watch out for these freaking oil companies, maintenance companies. And if you can, girl, I know that this sucks, and I know that it shouldn't be this way. We should be able to walk into any establishment as a woman and be respected and not be treated like we're stupid and not be given the runaround and not be giving up hiked up prices and shit. They could fuck up your whole life, dude. And like, I am living proof. So be careful who you take your car to, girl. I'm telling you right now, it is worth the extra expense of taking them to somebody reliable and somebody with good reviews and shit, because you don't want what happened to me to happen to you. Anyways, y'all, that was my story time for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to give this video a like if you did and would like to see more like it. If you're not subscribed to my glam fam, I would love to have your fine ass. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you very soon in the next few days. If you would like some more Nikki in your life, definitely check out my OnlyFans. I have some exclusive story times and true crime videos over there that I think you'd really enjoy. I'll leave the link down below, and of course, follow me on my socials so you can be involved in my everyday life and also have your ass sneaky submissions go through on my IG stories, all right? I love y'all so much, and I will see your fine ass in my next video. Peace out, y'all.